I know you, I can feel you with the green of soul. It's more than empty dreams and promises. It's not infecting me no more. When all I say to you is dead and gone, you won't be feeling me no more. I know you, I can feel you with the green of souls. When you're not looking at me, I feel so slow. With almost dreams of all our memories, there's nothing alone at one. And thoughts of you just bring me down inside. I sing it with the green of souls. I know you, I can feel you with the green of souls. When you're not looking at me, I feel so slow. Get your hands up. It's more than empty dreams and promises. It's not infecting me no more. We're almost dreams of all our memories. I sing it with the green of souls. I know you, I can feel you with the green of souls. When you're not looking at me, I feel so slow. Rising up, take a trip to the other side. Broken world from your eyes, close and lock 'em tight. Feet alive with the breath threatened to ignite. Spark a fire on the inside. Rise above, fly a jetpack to keep 'em down. Images of a thorn and a golden crown. Deadlock on the door, tell the mind itself. Set it off on the inside. We fall from a badly written rhyme, and the world knows contagious reaction in everybody's eyes. Sedition, attraction brings knowledge to demise. Swollen time, hold a candle into the light. All right, getting into it one more time. Back again. Subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification, like the video for the content. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Listening Room. My name is Eddie Booz, and today my guest is a Listening Room favorite, one of my favorite people out there. Love having this dude on, and I used to spend a lot of time with this guy, and I can't wait to see him again. Please welcome to the podcast, actually. Please welcome to the Listening Room, the host of the Mind Tasting Podcast, Mr. Kyle Romero. How you doing, my brother?
Hello. I'm doing very well. Hello, everyone.
Good to
Thanks
see
for
you,
having
boss.
me, Eddie.
Good to see you, my brother. Well, look, let's jump right into it today, man. Let's jump right into some gratitude, dude. Like to start the show off, like to start my day. A little bit of gratitude. Kyle, go.
I'm actually going to go a little light on this one and say I am grateful for puzzles.
Dude, I dig that.
I've been getting into puzzles lately, and it's a really awesome Just like when I'm stressed throughout the day or whatever, it's like this nice break that you can, especially, lately what I've been doing is just like really taking my time with them. So it's like you can have a 1,000 piece puzzle. It takes you a week, 2 weeks, and just like every so often you go over there, grab a little piece, find where it goes, place it, and it's just like I don't know. It helps me get out of my head and just like looking for stuff and that little piece of accomplishment or that you feel as well when you kind of like find one. There's like there's a little satisfaction that happens when you find a puzzle piece. So I've been
Love it.
enjoying it.
What? Excuse me. What type of puzzles are you into, Kyle?
Well, so I guess I don't really know all the different kinds, but I know that the one that I'm doing now compared to what I was doing last week is very detailed. And so I think I like the ones where it's almost like a Where's Waldo type of thing going on, where
It's
there's
like, is it like
all
is it
this,
like a word search?
not a word search, it's like a picture. So this one is of San Francisco, the city, and there's like a bunch of different landmarks and all the different neighborhoods, and it's very, very detailed. And so you can like literally just look at a piece and just try to find like, okay, what neighborhood is this in, what where, and it's like a Where's Waldo type of thing where you find you look at the reference guide, you can find kind of where it's at and then figure out how it fits in.
Interesting. I I can dig that. I've yeah. So it's like a find the things in the picture type
Yeah,
type of a
yeah, yeah,
puzzle. I dig
exactly,
that. I
exactly.
dig that. It's a picture find, something like that. I can't remember what they're called, but
Yeah,
I used to dig those too, bro. I love puzzles, dude. I can totally get down on that. When I was a kid, I was what I was labeled as like hyperactive,
yeah, same,
and
same
so
actually.
yeah, dude. So I was on this drug called Ritalin,
Oh,
which is essentially meth for kids.
oh
But,
gosh, okay.
but it it did the exact. It was like made me like laser beam focused, bro. Like I would take one of
Yeah,
those, dude, and I would sit down and do like 8 crossword puzzles in a row, dude. Like you know what I mean? Like and
amazing. Yeah,
barely come up for air. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah, yeah.
but no, I dig puzzles, bro. I dig all kinds of puzzles. Yeah, man. I grew up like with like tons of books of puzzles. I feel like as a musician, I feel like there's a natural. Uh, uh, Here's what I'll say. I feel like the reason I can do what I can do and remember as many songs as I can remember, I feel like
Yeah,
that's one of my biggest strengths is that I can just
yeah,
play like a million songs, right? Well,
yeah.
when and I'm speaking in hyperbole, obviously I can't play a million songs. But uh, I think that comes from a fair amount of pattern recognition,
Yes.
not of necessarily just understanding music so much as understanding patterns, as
Yeah.
understanding that okay, like this sound is created by this pattern. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like okay, so like I can hear something and go okay, well that's most likely this, and then what happens to me is in my mind, it goes into a shape. It looks like a shape on like the fretboard of the guitar.
Yeah.
It's so weird, like how my
Yeah.
mind works. It works in geometry. It works in shapes. It's very strange, but
Yeah.
I dig your puzzles gratitude, bro. I love that, dude. I absolutely love that. I will kind of jump on your gratitude here, and I will say I am happy and grateful for challenges. I'm happy and grateful that my mind can that I can accept challenges and my mind can be challenged and I can, accept new information and be solution oriented.
Yeah.
Being while being presented with challenges.
Yeah.
And I'm happy and grateful for the ability to have that and for the challenges because if you don't have the challenges that come in and challenge your mind and challenge your brain power then how you exercising that noodle, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah. You need to face challenges in order to get good at facing challenges.
Dude,
It's like you actually have to
seriously.
experience it in order to learn how to tackle whatever obstacle you might be facing. And going back to like the puzzles and how I feel like it really does kind of help with what you're talking about of like life challenges, is one of the things the puzzle is what you kind of learn by putting 1,000-piece, jigsaw puzzle together is like, it's one little step at a time. It's one puzzle piece at a time. You know what I mean? And I think that's
Love jigsaws, by
for
the way.
life, for life challenges as well. It's like sometimes you can't tackle the whole thing at once, but taking one step at a time and like one step forward and working on what you can address now in this moment, like that kind of is a learning lesson I feel like that I've learned, and kind of a puzzle reinforces that a little bit, like you can't always solve your entire, problem in one day or in one action. But if you just take the action that you can now, kind of helps you along the way.
Totally, dude. And going back to what you were saying about the accomplishment of like finishing a puzzle or even finding like one of those things in the picture. You know what I mean? You get this like, it's a very much a feeling of a personal win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? However
progress.
small, however small that may be, like, or if it's a jigsaw puzzle and you finally get the couple pieces you were looking for to fit in this one spot, and it makes the part of the picture that you wanted, and, or whatever it is, or the part of the crossword puzzle, or finishing a puzzle, for that matter, and finishing it correctly, is like, that's a big deal. That's a big feeling of motivation too, and it's just it's a personal thing. It's an internal.
Yeah.
Totally. It's an internal motivation and confidence builder to take puzzles, and like we were talking about, it's an exercise of the mind. It's so good to exercise your mind. Like, I love chess. Like, I love chess, and so I'll go through phases of playing chess. For like, I'll play chess for a long time. I'll play on chess.com, and I'll play against random people all over the world.
Yeah.
And then I'll go like a couple years and not play very often. And then I'll go back to playing. It's like reading for me. I'll go through like phases of like heavy reading and then not reading, and then heavy reading, then not. So, but I find that chess is one of the like most interesting ways to change your thinking patterns in everyday life. If you start playing chess every day, you will start thinking about things differently. You will start planning things in a different way. You'll start looking at life like a chessboard.
And
that's right.
Looking at the moves and planning like 3-4 moves ahead.
Yes, that's
like
correct.
You have to do in chess.
You're always gonna whereas when you're not in that analytical, strategic frame of mind every day playing one of these games, you that falls away from the forefront of the mind, away from the from the major perception and major attention, what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but when you have it, it's a very interesting feel to and vibe to a daily life when you're playing chess on a regular basis, because you are thinking about. See, what happens is when you think in chess, when you think, okay, if I move this piece here, he's got these pieces here. He could do this, and this, and if he does this, I could do this. And then he might do this. And then you think about that for like all of the options around your piece. So, So you have to like consider. And then you have to consider 2 or 3 moves or more ahead per move, depending on where that piece will end up. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, so many
there's
different.
a lot of like brain power going on.
There's a lot going on. But when you start naturally exercising that brain power, when you start exercising it by playing a game, what happens is you start applying the same flow and the same strategies. You start applying it across the board, and to your everyday life, to the things that you're, trying to accomplish. And you start thinking to yourself, wow, like maybe I could do this a little bit differently. Maybe I should try this. And maybe this,
And what would happen if I did this? Then maybe this would happen, and then how would I respond after that?
But yeah, exactly. But playing chess with life, like how what they say is like 4D chess. Like playing like 4D chess is very interesting because what you're doing is you're not thinking about, oh well, this piece can only move this way, so this is what could happen, and then I could do this because my piece could only move that way. What you've taken into account is that there's a human factor. There's a human factor of, okay, well, what is the most likely outcome? But at the same time, you can never gauge, you can never predict because you'll never know people. You know what I'm saying? Like, you better know people really well if you're going to try and play that kind of, I mean, if you're going to try and position yourself and do things to be successful in life, you better know people well, know your environment well, and, just like I like to call Sabukwe and yourself, people like you guys who are very astute and aware. I like to call you guys students of the human condition. You have to be a student of the human condition to play that kind of, to be that kind of strategical, analytical, action-oriented person in life and thinker in everyday life. And I suggest chess. I highly suggest chess, dude. If you're a chess player,
really,
bro,
you're selling it for me, man. I mean, I know how to play, but I never have really gotten into it. But what you're talking about just like practicing,
dude,
the strategy and the planning, I think that's another thing too, is like,
it's huge.
The planning aspect of looking ahead a little bit. And I find I have trouble with that sometimes. I'm only looking where I'm at now, and looking a few moves ahead obviously has a lot of, benefits to that.
Yeah, well, that's like the blueprint too of like manifestation. Obviously, is like thought coupled with action. You know what I mean? It's like that thinking ahead instead of, looking at your life the way it is or has been and thinking, oh, am I going to live my life based on the obvious past and the obvious present, or am I going to live my life based on the potential that I see for myself in the future? And thinking ahead, thinking yourself ahead into that position that you want to be, and then that thought can then be followed by some quality action, which to be honest with you, Kyle, and before I move into this next segment here, I wanted to say, you guys, as far as gratitude goes, I find it very important, and I find it of paramount importance to stay active in your own mental and emotional health. So I invite you guys to do that. I invite you guys to consider talking about your gratitude, thinking about your gratitude, what you're grateful for. Acknowledging the things you're grateful for is the one way, in my opinion, the best way to, one of the best ways to have exactly what you want in this life. To be
feel
active,
good.
Yes, and to be active in your own mental and emotional health.
Kind of a bad day, or being down, that you'll find that your mind is obviously focusing on a negative thing, and so just switching that focus to something that you're grateful for can really just help your mood.
Yep, being active in your own mental and emotional health instead of allowing the circumstances of life to dictate the way you feel all the time. Do something about it. Acknowledge your gratitudes, even on a small scale. It's a big deal. Excuse me. So, but that does bring me to thought equals, in thought followed by action equals you're gonna get what you're looking for, equals you're gonna create a better reality for yourself, equals the best version of yourself coming to the surface of your daily reality. Mm-hmm. So I want to talk to you about today about implementation, about straight up acting, about implementation of ideas. Yeah. And where people may fall short of that, and how we can best avoid pitfalls and do our best to act in the direction of the things we want, act in the best interest of ourselves, and go after our goals. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Let's talk about putting innovation into implementation. Let's talk about implementing ideas. Let's talk about really putting them forward. How best do we find to take an idea that you have in your head that you think is a good idea and make it a reality? Point in case, the Mind Tasting Podcast.
Yeah. So what I would say about this topic is that it's really about starting. It's about starting, because I think the thinking
the nail on
part,
the head, dude.
the thinking part is actually something that our society and we're trained to do a lot of. The
Almost an over
strategizing
planning
about
thing, you might say.
yeah, planning it,
Almost
strategizing.
over planning even, and thinking
Yeah,
to
exactly,
trying to make a
exactly.
perfect plan almost, before
Yeah,
you
yeah.
take action.
So it does depend on your personality. I think if you're the type of person that has, you know, in general overthink and you haven't taken enough action, then it's like, yo, take a day, take a week, or whatever it is. But at a certain point, you got to just start. You got to just start and realize you're not going to learn until you start doing. Because once you start implementing, I think one of the things too to help with this is realizing that you can adjust. That once you start, you're not committed to, oh, I have to do it this way always. You can do it, the first 5 episodes, if we're talking about podcasting or whatever it is, doing puzzles, you can use one strategy as you're working it out and then like, okay, I need to adjust, not like realizing that you can always switch it up
Right.
almost like gives you that release. There's like a release valve of like, okay, if I know that I can just switch it up and I'm not committed to this, I'm more willing to just start.
Right.
Because momentum is real. Momentum is super real. And once you start building a habit or you just get the ball rolling, it's that much easier to do round 2, round 3, round 4, round 5, round 100. So I think starting has always been an issue for me and is something to kind of focus on. Another thing that helps with starting is also like blocking out the noise, external noise. What are people going to think? What do people like? How would someone else do it? Or how are people going to respond to whatever is, I'm wanting to put out? I think that can hold, at least I'll speak for myself, has held me back. It's like I'm kind of worried about what I'm doing. I'm worried about what people think about what I'm doing. And so learning to be more grounded internally in, okay, this is what I'm doing and why. This is my intention. This is my purpose. This is my goal. This is my vision. And that's all that really matters. Like
I love it.
it doesn't actually matter what
I
someone
love it.
thinks of it. So
I love it. So let's go back. Let's go back for a minute to starting, and then we'll go and then we'll move back over to blocking out the noise.
okay.
So I can absolutely attest and agree 100% about the starting thing. A lot of people, and I noticed this. Okay, so this became very apparent to me when I got into filmmaking. When I wrote my first script and I got all these people on to shoot this movie that I wrote, I noticed that they were all in the film industry, and they were all coming to do this for free because they wanted a credit on their. They wanted another credit on their IMDb and on their resume. It wasn't even we didn't have any money to pay any of these people or nothing.
Yeah.
We offered them a small percentage of the film, and they all said yes. And we had 40 people come to audition. I mean, the cast was like 16 people. The crew was 10 people. I mean, it was pretty cool. And I looked around and I thought to myself, well, what's going on? Like, why aren't these people doing their own projects? These people are in film. Like, I'm just barely getting into film right now. Like, why aren't they all on their own thing? And I realized that like it's because not everyone is a starter. Not everyone is someone who's able to take an idea and just go, you know what? Even if it's not the best, let's just do it. Let's just do it. We're gonna just do it.
Yeah.
We're just gonna do the best job we can with the resources we have and the time we have, and go. Instead of just waiting for the perfect day and maybe someday we'll make the movie. No, we made it. We shot it. Not only we shoot it, we shot 3 more after that. With a lot of the people who shot the first one jumped on to shoot a lot more of the other ones too, because they were into it. They were like, hey, this worked. We got this done. Like, we actually did this, like, from beginning to end. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And we started it and finished it, and started it and then finished another one, then started it and finished another one. And you know what? And I'll say, as far as those particular little TV show episodes, those haven't come out just yet. Those haven't been released. Still have plans to release them.
Yeah.
And we've shot other feature films and TV shows and things like that since then as well. So, I mean, just starting and doing something. When I looked around and realized that not a lot of people were doing their own things, they had ideas. And everyone I was on set with had an idea for a script or had an idea for this or that and the other thing. But it was like, but the ideas weren't being manifested. You know, I'm looking
Yeah.
around and seeing like that this film I wrote like just now is like finally being manifested. What's going down, Ray? Good to see you, brother. Absolutely. Do it, dude. Just do it. When I looked around and started seeing that my vision was being manifested, but I was also hearing from all these people how they had visions too about certain things, you know, and I was like, and I started realizing that like, yeah, like that's a thing. That's a thing that people get
Yeah.
too caught up in the plan. And I started looking around and realizing that that was what was happening a lot of the time, was that there was a planning overage. There was too much planning going on.
Yeah.
You know, and not enough doing. At some
Yeah.
point, you have to just say, okay, this is planned well enough. I'm gonna do it, or just say I'm never gonna do it and don't. But stop saying
Yeah.
you're gonna, do it.
Yeah.
And, so it's like that. Start somewhere. You have an idea. You really want to make
Start
it.
where you are.
If it's a goal, start exactly
Start where you are with what you have. And just
Dude, it's exactly how I started the show. I started this show with the camera on the computer, and just that was it. I don't even remember if I had the microphone. I might have had the microphone, but
Yeah.
man, but you know what I'm saying? It's
start where you are.
starting where you are. I would rather do something, with a good plan today, than wait for someday to do something with a perfect plan, because that day will never come. But
Yeah.
but like you said before, when you start, what happens is momentum is a real thing. Going back to what you said, momentum is a real thing, which means when you start doing something, even if your first time isn't the best, what happens is inside, once you do that, you finished a puzzle. So inside,
Yeah.
you start to feel that, oh, I did that.
I could do it again.
I can do that again.
You know?
I can do that again.
It's
And then
like
you start,
validation from
Right.
life. Like life just validated you. Like, all right, yeah.
yeah,
you're
and
good.
then what happens? And then what happens as you do it more?
You get better. You improve.
Get
learn.
better. You get better. You improve, and that thing that you wanted to be perfect that at the beginning becomes
Right.
what you want it to be.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Instead of just waiting for someday to implement an idea that you think is going to be perfect, the first, the instant it's material is, I mean, when have you ever heard of that ever happening ever in life ever?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's ever existed.
Even if you have heard it, it's not real, because there was a lot of like practice and work that
you
was,
didn't see.
that was
That's
just
correct.
not like publicized. Like it
That's
was
right.
under the surface, but there was something else going on there. It wasn't the first time.
That's absolutely right, dude. So gain some momentum, and really get on it hard. I like that. And
But the reason people aren't starting is because they're concerned with other people's.
yes, and that's what
You know
we were
what I mean?
talking about.
That's the thing.
Moving right into blocking out the noise. As far as blocking out the noise is concerned, I found, for myself in particular, I found this. What you said is very true about blocking out the noise, and I found that actually applied heavily to me for a really long time with my social media and what I posted on social media.
For sure.
And what I mean by that is like instead of blocking out the noise and just being true to myself and just speaking my truth, so to speak, and and having that kind of confidence
Yeah.
that allows you to start and implementing ideas, that being able to block out the noise of other people's opinions,
Yeah. What are they going to think?
it became something. That's something that I didn't do very well at first, is what I'm saying. It's something that I obviously had to work on, and I thought to myself, there were tons of times where I would go to a post, I'd go to post something, and I think, oh well, what's people going to think about this, and then I just wouldn't post it.
Yeah.
You know, and then I just stopped posting things in general. And then I realized, and then I kind of liked that. After a while, I was like, hey, I like not sharing everything I'm doing in life on social media.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I kind of got addicted to like being detached from it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, it's a side. Got to tell you, bro, silence can get nice.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like no scrolling through Facebook feeds, bro. That's a peaceful feeling, dude, right there. I'll tell you what, dude. You know, and so yeah, blocking out the noise, dude. Stop just being able to stop giving so much weight to what people say. Maybe not necessarily fully blocking it out, because obviously there's people in your life that you care about and are gonna have criticisms. That's just the fact of life. It's the thing. You can't just go find a safe. I mean, if you want to find a safe space, you might as well never come out of your house or never post anything or never do anything. You know, because you're gonna have criticisms. Today's 2020. I'm on the internet here. I mean, I get criticism all the time. You know, and it's okay. You have to be able to live with that. But you have to be able to what you said, block out the noise, not get rid of it, block it out.
And I think
that's important for me to stay on what, and just like you said earlier, on your own authentic and genuine journey. You know what I mean? And without being dissuaded or pushed away from it a little bit because of the noise.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think what helps to not necessarily block it out, but contextualize it and understand, you know, what the noise is or what people's opinions are, is to really realize that when someone has criticism or has an opinion, their opinion is formed based on their experience, not yours.
Totally. 100%.
So the reason they're criticizing you is because in their mind, either if they did it, it wouldn't be good under their value system, number one. So it's their value system and their belief system, and it's if they did it. Or they subconsciously wish they were doing what you're doing and they're trying to bring you down. Either way, it actually it has nothing to do with you. It's not about, oh, I'm thinking about Eddie or Kyle and like, is this really good for them? Like, you know what I mean? At least 99% of criticism and other people's opinions is based on their own experience. You have the rare few that are really empathetic enough to like look at it from your perspective. And a lot of times with that type of criticism, you'll be able to detect the energy in a very different way. It'll be someone who comes to you in a very compassionate, friendly, loving way and be like, yo, I actually think, you know, and has an honest conversation with you about, oh, yo, maybe that thing that you did was not really the best move. And it's like a kind and compassionate energy to it, versus anyone that's going out to attack you in a angry energy is just manifesting their own stuff inside of them, their pain or whatever
100%.
insecurities they have, you know? So like that's, if you really understand that and really, really think about that and understand that, then it's really easy to block out like, oh, okay, that like, why do you even care what people think? You know?
That's right. And no, you're totally right. People are only going to approach you from their own frame of reference, from their own experiences.
They only can.
It's
the only thing that's possible.
It's only possible. It's exactly.
Yeah.
Their own emotional blueprint isn't your emotional blueprint. Yeah. Like you said, your value system is completely different. You're absolutely right about that, and that's something that a lot of people fail to realize. That, and that's why a lot of people like are, how I like to say, like angry with love, because they love each other, but they don't understand why they can't see things their way. But it's because they haven't had the same experiences and don't have the same emotional blueprint. Right. So, and you know what, Kyle, I'll tell you something. It takes a very self-aware person, an extremely self-aware person, to do what you just said, to come to the table with a kind and caring and loving touch when someone they love has done something that, you know, they may feel maybe offended by, or maybe they feel wasn't a good look for that person because they care about them and they want to bring it up to that person or something like that. Yeah. It takes an extremely calm, confident, self-aware person to do that. So, I mean, not everybody.
Most people are not like gonna be doing
No, they a lot of people will have an emotional reaction to a certain thing if that's not something that's within their value system. They might have a negative emotional reaction to it instead of looking at. It's going to take someone who's aware of the separation of the two entities, of your emotional blueprint and where you're coming from versus where they're coming from, and it's going to take that.
Yeah.
It's going to take that. I think really to have someone have the awareness to sit someone down and say, hey man, like I love you, but let's talk about this thing, you know what I'm saying? Where in as opposed to have an emotional reaction, because if a person has an emotional reaction, which it happens to a lot of people, you know, it's not a it's something I think we all can work on.
We all have emotions.
We all, and you know what? Here's the thing. It's natural. It happens within us, and what we're working on is how we respond to the emotional reaction and how we let ourselves externally react and respond in those situations where, you know, we call it, you know, in martial arts, it's the tiger, which is, you know, which is just reaction, and then it's the dragon, which is action, which is thought and action. You see what I'm saying? There's the tiger, which is fierce, but the tiger only knows reaction. It only knows reaction. That's the emotion. It's the ego. It only knows emotional reaction. It only knows that reaction, where the dragon has the chance to think. The dragon has a chance to take in the situation and its surroundings.
There's an awareness
to
in
it.
Between the external thing that happens and then the emotional response.
Correct.
And then the dragon is aware of both of those things before acting, and then makes a conscious decision.
And makes his action based on the conscious decision.
Yes.
Instead of just the reaction. And that's the difference, and that's where we go, and that's where our ego and our emotions can snap to that reaction. And that's why I do think it takes a very self-aware individual and a very someone who's kind of who's already in touch, or maybe even slightly exploring themselves in that way, to have that kind of, okay, well look, maybe this is not, and just kind of more like evenly keeled, approach it. Ray says here, most people criticize other people without ever having to know how or even having what others have. Francis always see people to criticize people's cars, but yet they don't have anything that stands close to it. What? I didn't understand that second part, Ray, but
I think he was touching on like that subconscious, like when someone has what you don't have,
right?
You're criticizing it.
Yeah,
like
I got you.
Sour grapes, like, oh, I didn't even want that anyway. That really nice car, that nice home, that like is so lame, you know?
Yeah, and you know what's funny
like,
too is like,
why you mad, bro?
Yeah, no, you gotta like that's something I learned from Jake Ducey, who was one of the very first gurus on the law of attraction that I ever listened to. He was the guy who brought me into this whole thing. So Jake Ducey, if you ever see this, I love you, brother. But that was one thing he said, man. You got to celebrate the abundance you see out on the road, man.
Yeah.
You see people driving that car you want, be like, dude, if he's got it, I can get it. You know what I mean? Like that kind of like vibe, you know what I mean? Like,
and just notice, and if you don't feel that way, like ask yourself why.
Why? Right.
Like, why are you bothered by that? I think anytime we have frustration or any type of emotional response, really, is a learning lesson for us. Like, okay, I'm noticing, number one, you have to be aware enough to start to notice your emotions. So first of all, start noticing your emotions. And then it's like, okay, I'm angry right now about this person that just did something. Something bothered me. Like, why? What is the reason behind that? What about myself? What about my past experiences? Maybe something that happened in my life before that I'm not looking at, that I'm not healing. The reason it's angering you is because you haven't healed something that is a pain inside you. You know what I mean? And so it's like really using your emotions as a tool for self-awareness, I think, is really difficult, but very, very valuable work.
Gotcha. Yep. You're absolutely right, my man. And on that note, thinking about the human mind and emotions and where we naturally go in the experience, I had something in store for you today, Kyle. Not Not anything too interactive here. I just wanted to go over some really interesting facts about the brain today.
Okay.
About the human
Awesome.
brain. So here's some really
awesome.
interesting facts about the human mind, everyone out there, so you guys can get some of these things. All right. In raw data, our brains can compute 10 to the 13th and 10 to the 16th operations per second. This would be equal to more than 1 million times the people that there are on Earth. In essence and in theory, the human brain is capable of solving and computing problems much quicker than a computer.
Wow.
Let me read that one more time. In raw data, our brains can compute 10 to the 13th and 10 to the 16th operations per second. This would be equal to more than 1 million times the people that there are on Earth. In essence and in theory, the human brain is capable of solving and computing problems much quicker than a computer. Think about that. That's so insane. That's so fast. Like, that would be equal to more than 1 million times the people that there are on Earth. There's 8 billion people on Earth, bro. 1 million times that. That's how fast.
Well, that kind of reminds me of a topic that we often come back to, which is flow states.
Dude, love
Think
it.
about like when you're kind of in a really focused zone, though your ability to react. I mean, you've told the story, you know, when you're in center field and you're reacting to the. Think about all the different calculations that your brain is doing, noticing the rotation of the hips, of the shoulders, where the
Everything.
pitcher, like it's absorbing all of this data
And
then
calculating
immediately
every
making
single thing
decisions.
in the
And so, yeah, like I can't fathom billions and billions of like digits like that, but I can't imagine that the human mind is doing some crazy operations
this is right. This is why I think dogs and cats and some animals are actually smarter than human beings.
Dolphins definitely
Because
are, dude.
if
They
you-
have bigger brains than we do.
Because we like to judge intelligence on like language and like understanding like human concepts instead of being able to like calculate the things, all of the things that are happening in real life and move through that. You've seen cats do things that, dude, you've seen animals do things that you're like, for that thing to have calculated that like weight, trajectory, distance, you know what I'm saying, like drag, like lift, like the whole deal, and then do these things. Like, I mean, dude, like, I don't know. I mean, if we're really basing it on like a very primitive level, I don't know. I think animals can be,
Well, I think what you're touching on is like body intelligence and body awareness versus like conceptual, which
kind of
humans are like really, really strong at. But like in terms of our bodies, like being able to balance, being able to just like catch yourself, like cats will just catch themselves and balance, like
and it's kind of to do with that. Like, it has something to do with that, but again, I think it has more to do with the awareness of the calculations. Like, here's the thing, like maybe our brains can subconsciously do these calculations in this quick of a time, but because we're not able to harness that that calculative power, I feel maybe potentially some of these animals that we're watching doing some of these incredible things potentially are able to harness some of that calculative power, and coupled with maybe a better understanding of kinetics of their own bodies that we don't get because we're human. We just understand, again, where we're coming from. Do you know what I'm saying? We don't get how a lizard does some crazy shit or a cat does some gnarly shit. Like, we don't get that because we're not them. We can only see from an outside perspective. Well, it'll always be impossible for us to confirm that reality. I don't know. Maybe science someday will be able to confirm that somehow. But but I think you get my point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you.
I think that intelligence is very strangely measured when it comes to people in general.
Yeah.
And it's only like measured in compartments when it comes to people. And then I don't think we even have a clue of how to gauge intelligence of other species. I mean,
Yeah.
we can gauge their intelligence of them understanding like human commands, but I mean, what the hell is that? Like, we understand human commands, so we
Yeah.
expect them to. Like, what
Yeah.
kind of sense does that make? By the way, you know what I mean? Like,
Right,
no,
right,
dude,
right.
like, but anyway, I mean, I guess we're straying from the point here. But yeah, anyway, so brain's awesome. Anyway, the slowest speed information passes around your brain is approximately 260 miles per hour.
Wow.
That's the slowest,
slowest.
speed information passes around your brain. Okay.
Because like that's probably has to do with the neurochemicals and like just the like electrical signals that are going through our brains. That's literally firing off data
Right.
at 200 miles per hour, apparently.
250 miles per hour. 260 miles per hour. Okay, did you know that frequent jet lag can damage memory? Stress hormones released during jet lag can damage the temporal lobe and memory.
I
I
believe
didn't
that.
know that. So constant flights back and forth through time zones can actually start damaging your memory. I wonder if that can like lead to actual like permanent cognitive disorder. That's a trip.
I bet it can, man. I think I would even say more generally that stress, not only on the brain but on the entire body, can be harmful and result in like long-lasting impacts. And so that's kind of where, going full circle to what we were talking about, doing puzzles and being a little bit like in a flow state and more zen about being more accepting of life and not being so resistant and angry and
Right.
you know what I mean? Like these negative like states of mind all produce stress in the body, and then that releases cortisol that does this and there's
Right.
all types of physiological repercussions of that. But it's like for so many people just like relaxing, and like chilling a little bit and like not being so stressed out, is not only going to be beneficial for the brain but like your entire body, man.
Totally, dude. 100%. Ray says, Ray, what you're talking about down here is Kyle and I have talked very, very much, extensively about this on the program. It's called Zen. It's called being in a Zen state or a flow state. Ray says, ever concentrate and time seems to slow down, like in sports. Yeah, Ray, that's what happens when you find yourself in a Zen state or a flow state. Time seems to just kind of not exist anymore. You're just kind of one with everything around you. And
Yeah, your brain's literally in a certain state where there's less energy in the part of the brain that calculates time.
Is that
And so that's why
theta?
yeah, that's why our sense of time gets all weird, because your brain is putting more like of the like focus and energy in a different part of your brain where it's like about awareness and connection to like what's going on. And so that's why it results in a different experience of the world, is because like our brains are functioning in a different way, like literally.
Love that, dude. Like, and totally true, bro. All right, here we go. Multitasking is actually impossible. When we think we're multitasking, we're actually context switching.
Yeah.
That is, we're quickly switching back and forth between different tasks rather than doing them at the same time. The book Brain Rules explains how detrimental multitasking can be. Research shows your error rate goes up 50% and it takes you twice as long to do things. Interesting. And I actually knew that about context switching and about multitasking. You can't actually do that at the same time. I think I heard it's impossible, but I don't want to say anything's impossible, but I mean, if I can pat my belly and rub my head at the same time, then I'm doing two different things, bro. Like I'll multitask,
Yeah, I like agree
But-
and disagree with that, because it's like I definitely understand the idea of like when you're just flipping through different things, all you're really doing is switching back and forth very quickly, and so I totally get that. But like also, as
And bro,
someone who-
I can watch TV and eat dinner like a motherfucker, bro.
yeah,
like
also as
You don't
someone
even
like,
know.
so I know how to juggle, and it's like I do feel like I'm actually focused on and aware of one or two or three different things in order to like literally physically be juggling three, objects.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an interesting concept. I do feel like the brain, especially if it's in a similar context like that, like I'm just thinking about juggling, but it does require me to be focused on two different things. I feel like that might be kind of a version of multitasking that the brain can do. But yeah, two completely different things. Yeah. Like probably just focused on one.
Like eating dinner and watching a movie. Anyway. Okay. So, all right. So the next one is most scientists argue that there is no evidence that playing classical music to babies increases the power of their mind. However, children who learn to play a musical instrument can develop their mental skills further than those who do not learn a musical instrument. And check this shit out. Studies at Brown University have actually stated that students who learn a musical instrument before the age of 11 are statistically test 34% higher throughout their school throughout their academic careers than their non-musical counterparts.
Yeah.
And check it out. They're 50% less likely to ever try drugs and alcohol in their entire lives. Did you know that?
I did not know that, but it
crazy
doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me, man. I mean, music is...
Well, I think it's just music nerds. They just don't. It's either, check it out. Here's what it is. Here's why it's 50%. Because when you get into music, you're either like a stoner, and you're gonna like do it all and just party hard as fuck, or you're a band geek that's like totally straight edge and never is going to touch a drug in your life, but you'll suck a dick for the fucking life of you. I'm just kidding.
That's amazing.
You know, band nerds like to blow people.
I think playing music there's definitely an intellectual part of it. Like you even mentioned in the beginning, like when you're thinking about playing chords and like kind of not necessarily memorizing, because you are memorizing parts of it, but then it becomes pattern recognition and how things are put together. And just like there is like this math kind of like intellectual aspect to music. And so when you're learning to play, it totally makes sense that learning that kind of intellectual side, the music intellectuality, would help you in other forms of intellectual pursuits. Right.
Absolutely. Just like we were talking about earlier, when you start playing chess and you start to apply it to your life.
It crosses over to other things.
Mm-hmm. All right, check this out. A small portion of the population experiences synesthesia. They may hear colors, smell words, or see a concept in a spatial location. First discovered in the 19th century, this mixing of the senses is a perceptual condition. While synesthesia may be caused by brain trauma or degeneration, many people report symptoms from an early age. You know what? Check this out, Kyle. That's a common thing with people on hallucinogens.
Yeah.
Like smelling colors or seeing colors or something like that.
Yeah.
That's not seeing colors, smelling colors. Like that's a common thing for like people that are like on like acid. Like I've heard, I know multiple people who have had experiences of just like that.
Yeah.
Where they could like see like words or smell colors, like things like that. Yeah. Very, very interesting, dude.
Yeah, it's very interesting that that points to like how connected all of our.
I just want to know how much I have to take to experience that. That's all. Just tell me that. All right.
A lot.
All right. Oh, check this out. There is 2.5 million gigabytes of storage space in your brain. The top of the line iPhone 7 has 256. there is 2.5 gigabytes of space, of storage space in your brain. The top of the line iPhone 7 has 256. All right. That's a lot.
It's a lot.
All right. The attention spans of human brains are getting shorter. We have lost almost 4 seconds of our attention span in the past 15 years. This means we cannot concentrate on one thing for more than 8 seconds on an average. Think about that. Don't think longer than 8 seconds, though.
Or do think longer for 8 seconds so that you can get your attention span up.
Do your best, right? Exactly. Bro, that's why, like, the other day, like, I just felt, oh, man, this week's been rough, dog. I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. Like, and to be honest with you, for no particular reason, it was just an emotionally, like, strange week. It just, I'm not gonna be honest with you, man. I just don't know. You know, things have been just kind of weird. You know, feeling.
Maybe the planets were aligned in a weird way, bro.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. Like, but I'll tell you, man. Like I'll do my best to pull myself out of that. And I like Bob Proctor, man. Bob Proctor's just got a cool, you know, soothing voice, and I like some of his affirmation videos and stuff. So I popped one on the other day, and it was one of his money affirmation videos, and just started listening to it. And I find that's really good to do, is like, because it's a repetitious thing. You're not hearing him move from thing to thing. You're literally hearing him say the same thing over and over for 2 hours. So when you start to concentrate on one thing for like an extended period of time that doesn't move from subject to subject like a movie or a television show would, when you're literally like concentrating on like a positivity mantra for that long, I feel like I feel like that's exercising your attention span in your brain in different ways than maybe doing a puzzle like we talked about earlier, would exercise your brain.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, and that's a thing too.
A form of meditation.
I think that's a thing we you know, as humans, I'm going to start considering doing that myself. And I would invite you guys to consider doing that as well. Bless you, whoever that was. I didn't hear that. So I'm going to invite y'all to consider, you know, doing that too, you know. And all right. So, yeah, just work on your attention span. I mean, what could it hurt? You know, what could it hurt to, like, up your game in your attention span game? Like, imagine this was a video game and your character was right here, and you had, like, intelligence, emotional intelligence, empathy, like, all these things like that, you know,
body
like
awareness.
Skills, you know, like, all these skills and values and different things that you have. And then, like, one of those things is your attention span, and it's like way low, and like all humans are just made with a shitty attention span. And what if you could like up that bar? What if you could like move that bar up, and now it's like getting to be bigger and bigger and bigger, and you're filling that bar up? What if it starts off at like 8%? You know what I'm saying? And you can fill it up to 100. Like, but we don't understand what the difference would be in our lives if our attention spans were greater, because we don't practice making them greater. So what would that be? What would that look like if our attention spans were better, if we worked on our attention spans more? Guys, I invite you to start working on your attention spans and reporting back. Let us know exactly how it works out for you. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start literally focusing on some attention span practice over the next couple weeks, and I'll let you all know how it goes. How's that, Kyle?
I'm very down.
Dude, it feels like, after reading that fact right now, it feels like something that like it feels like something I'd like to explore. You know what I mean? I feel like something that it possibly could help, you know, up the quality of life. You know, my quality of life in general.
To me, that's what meditation is, actually. Like, literally sitting down for 20 minutes and just focusing on your breath, and that's it, is very challenging. You know, so like doing that over and over and over again, it actually does help with your ability to concentrate and focus. Time.
Your mind wants to go every which way when you sit down to meditate. When you sit down to do nothing, that's when your mind fights you the most.
Yeah.
That's when your mind goes, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. Get up. Go to the bathroom. Check an email. Check out Instagram, IG, Facebook. Ah! You know, and it's like, you're like, what the fuck? Like, you know, you're like, chill out, real. You know, and you finally like make it acquiesced, and you make it like chill. You know, like it's like a dog, it's like a puppy that wants to get up and run around, and you just keep grabbing it by his collar. Nope, sit. nope, sit,
Yeah.
nope, sit, nope, sit. And when you finally get it to sit, you're like, you know what I mean? Like, and you can finally, and it's
Yeah.
almost like this, like, blissful, like, release where you
Yeah.
can kind of, like, fall into, I don't know, just kind of, I was going to say a sense of yourself, but that's not what it is. When you, like, for me, it's less of being self-aware and more of being just
It's more connected with everything.
with
It's like,
with everything
you
instead
fall
of self.
you fall into you
Right.
fall into connection with like your entire experience almost.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's do one more here. Being able to, and this one we have actually talked about here on this show about the benefits versus the versus the cons, the pros versus the cons of having information so readily accessible to you through Google.
Yeah.
Being able to access information quickly makes you less likely to remember it. It's great being able to access almost any piece of information in a few seconds, and resources such as Google, Wikipedia, and YouTube have clearly been major parts of a revolution in how we find information. But studies suggest if the brain knows it can just access it again so easily, it's less likely to bother remembering the information itself. So, guys, and I think this also goes back to something that Kyle and I also said before, that you use it as a tool for you instead of allowing it to use you as a tool. You know what I'm saying? And be
Yeah.
and be selective about what you need to know. If you need to know something, learn it. Do your best to remember it and retain the information. Don't just always assume you're going to have this little thing at your fingertips, because one day you might not. So
And maybe practice not having it. Like, what would you do if you didn't have on a Saturday or a Sunday when, you don't need to be working or all involved in your phone? Like, what if you actually took 24 hours off your phone? That would help you practice.
Even start with 6 hours. Even start with an hour at a time. Some people can't go an hour without their phone. Literally start with an hour.
Yeah.
Start with an hour at a time. Anyway,
That's a good point.
Yeah. Anyway, you guys have been awesome today, Kyle. I love you, brother. You're always such an amazing guest, and I loved talking about putting
Thank you, man.
putting ideas into action and implementation, and I love your 2 cents on starting and on blocking out the noise. Those are 2 very, very important aspects. About putting any kind of implementation into action, and don't wait for someday for some plan to be perfect before you do something. Just do it, and you're going to get better. You're going to hone skills, and you're going to see that vision that you wanted to see eventually become something once you start it. So get out there, do it. Get out there and do your things, guys. Absolutely love you guys. Thanks so much to my guest today, Mr. Kyle Romero from the Mind Tasting Podcast.
Thank you, Eddie. Love you too, man.
Love you, absolutely, brother. Go check out the podcast, the Mind Tasting Podcast, you guys. Everywhere you guys can find your podcast, you guys can find the Mind Tasting Podcast. I'm Eddie Booz, and I am your host. Thank you guys so much. Join me tomorrow on the listening room for Mr. Ari Pay. He was the ex-marketing director from Vans Shoe Corporation. Come on back here. I'll see you guys at 6:30 tomorrow night. And remember, guys, good things happen when you take the time to listen. Thank you all. Love you all. Thanks for being a part of the listening room tonight. My name is Eddie Booz. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notifications, and give the video a like. We'll see you guys every Monday through Friday right here at 6:30. Take care.